This is Bangarang Radio, a podcast network. For more shows, visit bangarangradio.com.
I'm going out, I gotta go. I'll bangarang on the radio. So turn it up, I'm telling you. I think I'm ready for something new. Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza. Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza. You're listening to Pop Punkin' Pizza on Bangarang Radio.
Hey, hello, welcome to another episode of Pop Punkin' Pizza here on bangarangradio.com. I'm Jacques Lamour, your host. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to have you here. First and foremost, I apologize that we didn't get to do an episode last week. My son became ill, and we couldn't have a sitter watch him because he caught that hand, foot, mouth disease, which I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's very contagious. And it's nothing really that serious. You just get this rash all over your body and you get these sores in your mouth and it's just uncomfortable. It's kind of like chicken pox, except not as severe. Anyway, so he couldn't go to a daycare because it's contagious, and that's actually where he got it first and foremost. And my fiance had to work, so I had to cancel the podcast with my good friend Dave Gomez of Night Terrors, and I had to watch Owen. So I apologize for that, but we are back this week, and things are a little different for this episode. Originally, I was supposed to have Stubby from Lucky Boys Confusion on the show, but he had to reschedule as well. He's got a crazy busy life going on right now as well. So he'll be on sometime in the future. I'm not sure if it'll be next week or the week after that. Currently trying to work something out. So this episode, we are mainly going to be talking about Goldfinger's brand new record that just came out last week on Friday, July 21st, called The Knife, which I am super stoked about. But before we get to that, I need to make sure to tell you that our show today is brought to you by Vinyl Me Please. You can join their record club of the month, or their record of the month club, by going to joinvmp.com/Bangarang Radio. Again, join their record of the month club at joinvmp.com/Bangarang Radio. And if you sign up, we actually get a little funding here at Bangarang Radio. It's not something where they paid us $100 to say these things on our show. We actually don't get any money unless you actually go to that link I just gave you and sign up. And before we get to the show, as I've mentioned since December on Pop Punkin' Pizza here, I now play in a Green Day tribute band called St. Jimmy in the Chicagoland area, and we have our first show coming up of the year. It's going to be Sunday, August 20th at Base Camp Pub and Eatery in Lisle. So if you're in the area, please stop by. It's going to be this huge first annual 90s Palooza. So there's tons of 90s influenced bands. You got Alice in Chains. There's a Two Fighters tribute band, Don't Speak, which is no doubt. You also have Smells Like Nirvana, which is, from what I hear, like the best Nirvana tribute band in the Chicagoland area. And there's tons more than that. So even if, let's say, you don't want to necessarily see St. Jimmy, which I would hope you would, but anyway, there's also a Green Day tribute, or not a Green Day tribute, there's a Blink-182 tribute called Blank 281. So if you want to get tickets for this very first 90s Palooza at Base Camp Pub and Eatery in Lisle, go to ticketweb.com and just search for Base Camp on TicketWeb, and the venue will come up and you'll see the 90s Palooza choice there to buy tickets. Or you can just visit bangarangradio.com and there'll be a link up on this particular episode. If you search for episode 25 of Pop Punkin' Pizza, you'll see a link there. So I hope to see you out the show. It's only $10 for a ticket, which is not bad, and it is all ages. So don't forget, Sunday, August 20th, Base Camp Pub and Eatery, St. Jimmy, tribute to Green Day. All right, so before we actually talk about Goldfinger's latest album, The Knife, and kind of break that down a little bit. Just a couple things to mention. Speaking of Green Day, there's lots of great news from them on the last week or two. They announced their third single from Revolution Radio is going to be Forever Now. Billy Joe recently talked to Absolute Radio over in the UK and saying that they're currently working on a music video for the song, and it's being directed by Sam Baer. Now, if you're a hardcore Green Day fan, you'll know that Sam Baer directed a bunch of their music videos before, like Once for Holiday, American Idiot, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and I think he's done even more stuff than that. So that's exciting news. Also, Green Day announced their documentary film, Turn It Around, the story of East Bay Punk, is going to be getting its own North American theater tour. Now, the Illinois date is Wednesday, August 30th, and they're going to be showing it at theaters in Addison, Bloomington, Country Club Hills, Gurnee, and Orland. You can view the full list of dates at eastbaypunk.com. Now, in addition to that, Billy Joe Armstrong, his son Joey Armstrong, then Tim Armstrong from Rancid teamed up to create this supergroup called the Armstrongs, and they released a song called If There Ever Was a Time, and it's all about 924 Gilman Street there, where they all grew up playing shows. And it's featured in the East Bay Punk documentary, and all the sales from that song are going to be donated to the iconic East Bay Punk venue, which I just mentioned, 924 Gilman Street. Song is being put out through Tim's label, Hellcat Records. So if you stream it online, if you buy it online, all the proceeds are going to go to 924 Gilman Street, which is amazing. Also, speaking of new music dropping, Neck Deep has announced they're dropping a new album. This happened in the last week or two. It's coming out August 18th via Hopeless Records, called The Peace and the Panic. And along with that, they released a new song called Motion Sickness. And I want to actually go ahead and take a listen to that right now. Neck Deep is one of the newer pop punk bands that I just started getting into. And I know they've been around for a while, but I finally got around to listening to them, and I'm really digging this new single that they put out. So let's take a listen.
It's time to kick the habit
on the album.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, and stop.
That's it.
Did you get it, mate? Okay.
Can we bounce that?
Put some stank on it and let's print it.
All right, Motion Sickness, the latest single from Neck Deep here on Pop Punk and Pizza. That is from their new album, which has yet to come out. Comes out August 18th via Hopeless Records. Go to neckdeepuk.com to pre-order that. And also just look at tour dates. They're on the Vans Warped Tour all summer long right now. The Chicago date actually was just this last Saturday, Tinley Park there at the Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. And speaking of new music, Knuckle Puck just announced in the last week or two, they wrapped up recording their second album, which they did at ABG Studios in Crown Point, Indiana, once again with Seth Henderson. So I'm thinking in the next couple of weeks, maybe they'll put out a new single, or we'll just hear when this new album is going to be put out. So super stoked for that. All right. Those are just a couple things that have been happening in the pop punk scene here in the last couple weeks that I wanted to talk about. So let's dive into Goldfinger's brand new album right now called The Knife. Just came out this last Friday via Rise Records.
Put the knife away and try to listen, You said you changed, you stayed the same, always driving me insane. Just put the knife away and try to listen.
So this is just kind of like my breakdown of the album. Start with the first song called A Million Miles. It's not what I expected to be the opener. I thought Put the Knife Away was actually going to be the first song on the album, but it wasn't. I like the ska riff in the middle of the song. You don't expect it because when the song starts out, it's very fast, very upbeat, very punky, very pop punky, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the song, there's that ska feel to it, which, like I said, it was unexpected, so that was cool. The next song is Get What I Need. It's the first full ska song on the record, and John talks about things he did 30 years ago with his friends, getting high, graffiti, and all that stuff, and which, when we listen to this album, John actually goes back into his past a lot to talk about things. Am I Deaf is the third song on the album, and now this song is not brand new to us Goldfinger fans. They actually put it out 4 years ago. This song's about how today's music doesn't compare to the music you grew up with, and you can't relate to it. Technology's taking over, kids are going to shows, and they have their phones out the whole time, recording videos of the band and everything. And this is coming from John now. He says, that was the first song I wrote where I knew I had to do it myself. It was the one where I thought, okay, maybe a new Goldfinger record can happen. I just watched all these other groups, and there was a whole new generation of kids blending pop and what pop punk used to be. I felt like I needed to make a statement of what my generation is. Said, the Buzzcocks meets Bad Religion meets NoFX. I had a moment where I thought, am I too old for that classic NoFX, Bad Religion beat, that fast punk? I thought maybe I'd outgrown it. But I wrote A Million Miles for myself. It has to be about what's fun and what you like. So if you listen to the song and it makes me happy, that's all that matters to Goldfinger. The point isn't trying to connect to radio or try to make people happy. It's about making John happy, which you should do things that make you happy. That's why I do this podcast. I don't do it necessarily for others. I do it because I enjoy doing it. And I enjoy your company too, but at the same time, you got to do things that make you happy. So I'm really glad that Am I Deaf made it on this album, because this is a song that I can relate to, because a lot of time I feel exactly the same way that John feels on this about today's music and things like that. All right, so we're getting into song number 4 now, which is Tijuana Sunrise, which they released just about a week or two ago, before the album came out this past Friday. It's the second ska song on this album. Has more of a 90s Goldfinger vibe to it. John seems to reach back into his past once again, and he's talking about this song's about his youth growing up in San Diego. He said, I survived days in Mexico by seconds and inches. And one of my roommates was kidnapped by a man named El Diablo, and I wrote the song about my experience back then. I would really love to sit down one day with John Feldman and just hear all his stories from when he was a kid, because it sounds like he's had some crazy things happen to him. So that's pretty much what Tijuana Sunrise is about. And since technically this is like their second single and the second song they released from the album, let's go ahead and take a listen to it right now.
Blacked out again down in Mexico. Jose Cuervo got me again. Wasted again with El Diablo. Alcohol, my only friend. Smashed the bottles on the reef. Washed the dirt off of my feet. That was the summer of my life. I've been drinking to forget just how good it was. I was drinking with you, then I'm drinking till noon. Now I'm drinking by myself. I've been drinking to forget about the both of us. I was drinking with you, then I'm drinking till noon. Now I'm drinking by myself. Tijuana sunrise shine upon my face. Oh, 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 oh. Tijuana sunrise shine upon my face. I fell in love down in Mexico. She took me for everything I had. Oh, oh, oh. Woke up in jail in Rosarito Federales. Took it all. I'm out of cash, about to crash. Smashed the bottles on the reef. Washed the dirt off of my feet. That was the summer of my life. I've been drinking to forget just how good it was. I was drinking with you, then I'm drinking till noon. Now I'm drinking by myself. I've been drinking to forget about the both of us. I was drinking with you, then I'm drinking till noon. Now I'm drinking by myself. Drinking with you, then I'm drinking till noon. Now I'm drinking by myself. I've been drinking to forget about the both of us. I was drinking with you, then I'm drinking till noon. Now I'm drinking by myself. Tijuana sunrise shine upon my face. Oh, 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 oh. Tijuana sunrise shine upon my face. Tijuana sunrise shine upon my face. Oh, 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 oh. Tijuana sunrise shine upon my face.
Tijuana Sunrise, Goldfinger here on Pop Punk and Pizza. That's the second single they released from their Knife album, which just came out this last Friday. The next song on The Knife is Put the Knife Away, which is the lead single off the album. We've already talked about that. That's been out for quite a while now. The next song is Don't Let Me Go, which is another ska vibey song. It actually kind of reminds me of The Police as well, which we know that John is influenced by them. I could swear John has talked about that in interviews before, how he grew up listening to The Police. It sounds like there's a guest vocalist on this song as well, but I'm not sure who it is. And I don't have the album credits because I listened to the digital version of this album, so I'm not really sure who that is, but I gotta see if I can find some kind of album credits around and see who it is. I actually want to buy the CD disc but I haven't done it yet, and I do want to get it on vinyl too. And then the next song is Beacon, which kind of goes back into the pop punk vibe. And then Who's Laughing Now? Back into the ska. And I wasn't expecting this much ska on this album, but almost every single song has horns in it, or there's the ska riffs, and I love it. I'm definitely not complaining about it, and I think a lot of diehard Goldfinger fans should be very happy about this. It also makes me wonder who are the people that are recording the horns. I'm just wondering if he got John and Matt and Billy from Real Big Fish to come and record, or if he recruited some other people. Next song is Say It Out Loud, and I love the way the song starts out. It has like this fun 90s pop rock sounding guitar riff. The sax solo in there kicks major ass too. Now the next song is Orthodontist Girl, which brings us back to that silly, fun Goldfinger that we remember from the 90s. Kind of makes you think about Mabel and things like that. And with that being said, and since it has such a nostalgic feel, and it sounds like it's written from that time period, it makes you wonder if he wrote it recently or if it was written 15 years ago or 20 years ago, and he's just now actually releasing it and putting it out on this album. See You Around, we have Mark Hoppus, definitely on guest vocals. I mean, I don't need to look at album credits to know that's Mark Hoppus. See You Around definitely sounds like it could be on Blink-182's California album. And with that being said, it just only goes to show how much John Feldmann had to do with the writing of Blink-182's California album. We all know he wrote, produced, and recorded that record, but See You Around definitely sounds like, you know, something that actually could have been on Blink-182's California. Then we have Liftoff, more guest vocals, I'm pretty sure, on that song. I'm still not sure who it is. I need to get those album credits, or I'm getting old and I'm getting deaf and I'm hearing things, and maybe it's just John, but it sounds like there's another vocalist on that song. And the very last song we have is Mila, which I think, I could be wrong, is the name of John Feldmann's daughter. And you listen to the lyrics, it sounds like he's singing about his daughter. And this is something I'm not sure. I know his son is named Julian, and if you remember from Hello Destiny, which was the album before The Knife, there is a little song there about Julian. So I'm thinking maybe with the second album, he's like, I got to put out a song that's written about my daughter now. So either way, I think it's a very sweet way to close out the album. And maybe it's just because I have a soft spot for kids now since my fiance and I just had a baby boy 5 months ago. But either way, I am super happy with this album, and I think all hardcore, die-hard Goldfinger fans are going to love it, especially if you like the more ska side of Goldfinger. And this is, to me, it's perfect timing to actually put out a more ska-influenced album, because there's actually kind of a resurgence of ska right now. If you look at the Vans Warped Tour lineup this year, there's like 4 or 5 ska bands on the roster, which hasn't happened in who knows how long. So I think the way that John Feldmann put this record together was perfect. Or maybe it's just because I'm a sucker for Goldfinger. I don't know. But either way, also, I want to mention John Feldmann also won the first ever Alternative Press Music Awards Influencer Award. Well deserved. Just wanted to say congratulations to John there. All right, so that's just my take on Goldfinger's The Knife. And also, I just want to congratulate John Feldmann. He just got an awesome award from Alternative Press Music Awards just this last week. He got the first ever Influencer Award, which I think is very well deserved considering everything that John Feldmann has done for the music industry in the past 10, 15, actually maybe even 20 years, because he's been producing bands for that long, actually, starting with Goldfinger. So congratulations to John Feldmann on that. Okay, before we get to our Pop Punk Picks of the Week, this episode of Pop Punk and Pizza is sponsored by Vinyl Me Please. Now, Vinyl Me Please is a vinyl record of the month club The best record club, in fact. Every single month, Vinyl Me Please features one album that is essential to the modern vinyl collection and sends it to thousands of members worldwide. So special edition vinyl records you can't get anywhere else. We're talking about colored vinyl, custom lyric books, exclusive artwork, personal notes from the artist, and much, much more. The only thing that won't surprise you each month is how much you end up loving the music itself. Now, we know that trusting someone else to curate your record collection can be scary, really scary actually. So you've had your whole life to fine-tune your taste, and we certainly don't want to get in the way of that. So that's why they have swaps. Now with swaps, you can exchange a featured record with one from many of the Vinyl Me Please archives, or a limited set of store titles. Now this way, even though you're trying new things, you won't be forced to take a title you don't already have, or maybe it's something you don't like. So let's say they send you an album that you're just not digging, you didn't want, you can swap it out. It's no big deal. Plus, there's no contracts, there's no gimmicks. You can cancel anytime. You can join their record club by going to joinvmp.com/Bangarang Radio. Again, that's joinvmp.com/Bangarang Radio to join their record club. And that's a monthly thing. So thank you, Vinyl Me Please, for being a sponsor. And we only get a portion of, we only get money from them, I should say, when people sign up for their record club by going to that link. So it's not like they just handed me $500 and say, okay, say this so many times on your podcast. We don't get a dime unless you sign up. So please support us, and please support Vinyl Me Please. All right, let's get to our pop punk picks of the week.
Pop punk picks of the week.
3, 2, 1.
All right, so since there's no guest on the show today, which I pick a song that I've been digging the last week, and then my guest will pick one. I'm going to go ahead and pick two that are both my picks. So the first one is 7 Minutes in Heaven, and I've talked about them on the show before. I've actually played their music on the show before. They just announced they have a brand new EP coming out called Symmetry. It's coming out through Rude Records, which is the first release from that. They are from Chicago, so it's hard not to talk about them. In fact, both of my picks are from Chicago. As I've mentioned many times, there's so many great bands in Chicago right now. It's just bursting with amazing talent. So Symmetry, their new EP, they released a new single from that EP as well with the same title. And like I said, coming out via Rude Records Friday, September 15th. They're currently on tour, and their Chicago date is coming up Sunday, July 30th. It's at the Wire in Berwyn. You can hit up 7mih.com for tour dates and to pre-order Symmetry. So let's go ahead and listen and watch this Symmetry music video right now.
You always took your shoes off in the
All right, that's my first pick of the week, 7 Minutes in Heaven, Symmetry, here on Pop Punk and Pizza. It's from their new EP with the same title, comes out via Rude Records, Friday, September 15th. Make sure you hit up 7mih.com to pre-order that, and also see their current list of tour dates. They keep adding more and more each and every day. My next one is from a band that actually has a connection to John Feldmann. It's one of the first bands that John Feldmann ever produced and helped get some headway back in the late 90s. And this is their first album release in years, several years. I'm talking about Show Off. Yeah, Chicago's beloved Show Off. They just released a single called Popular Kid. It's from their album, like I said, their first album in years, coming out here, called Midwest Side Story. It's coming out via Dodgeball Records Friday, September 22nd. Their next Chicago show is coming up Saturday, August 12th. That's going to be at Reggie's, and they're supporting Punchline on that show. Punchline is celebrating 20 years. Yeah, I know. I'm feeling old too. So if you like what you hear, this new Show Off single called Popular Kid, go to showoffrock.com. You can pre-order that brand new record and also get their full list of dates right now. I think they're only playing in the Chicago area. So let's take a listen to Popular Kid.
Another Saturday night playing video games, going online and people calling me names. They say I'm not a cool kid, but to me it's all the same. Let the music speak for me. Another lonely night, staring at posters on the wall. Did they feel like I do now? I pick up my guitar and I write a stupid song, and all the cool kids sing along. No one's noticed me in quite
right, show off Popular Kid here on Pop Punk and Pizza. That's from their upcoming album called Midwest Side Story, coming out via Dodgeball Records Friday, September 22nd. It's their first album in years, and I think everyone in Chicago is pretty happy about that. So hit up showoffrock.com to pre-order that today. Also, since we're talking about Chicago bands, as I usually do, want to mention Belmont has released a brand new single as well called Step Aside. It's a great tune. They're on the road again right now, and they're playing in Chicago August 18th at Cobra Lounge. So make sure you hit up Belmont on Facebook and their social media pages too to see their upcoming dates as well. All right, so before I close out the show, just want to remind you the Green Day tribute band I play in once again called St. Jimmy. We have a show coming up Sunday, August 20th at Base Camp Pub and Eatery in Lisle, Illinois. I don't play the bass. I play the role of Jason White, which is the fourth member of the band, so I'm playing lead guitar, which I do the best I possibly can. I'm not really a lead guitarist, but I pull it off for Green Day at least. So Base Camp Pub and Eatery is their first annual 90s Palooza. So in addition to St. Jimmy, you've got tons of awesome 90s tribute bands playing. There's one called Two Fighters, which we've played with before, super awesome band. Alice in Chains, there's Blank 281, Don't Speak, Smells Like Nirvana, and there's so many more. It's an all-ages show. Doors are going to open up at 11 a.m. St. Jimmy hits the stage at 4:30. On the inside stage, there's an outdoor stage, and then there's an inside stage, and we'll be playing at 4:30. Tickets are now on sale. If you go to ticketweb.com, you can just search for the venue Basecamp on ticketweb.com, or you could even visit bangerangradio.com for the link, and if you search for this particular episode. So I hope to see you out at the show if you're in the Chicagoland area. I'm Jacques Lamour. Thank you so much again for listening to Pop Punk and Pizza. Make sure you hit us up on our social media pages. We're on Facebook under Pop Punk and Pizza Podcast. Our Twitter is Pop Punk and Pizza Pod. My Twitter handle is On Air with JJ. Also, Bangerang Radio is at Bangerang Radio. And our Instagram, Pop Punk and Pizza Podcast, or Pop Punk Pizza Podcast, excuse me. I know we got so many different social media handles. Now, let's say you want to be a guest on this show, or you want your music to be played as part of Pop Punk Picks of the Week. Please shoot me an email at bangerangradio@gmail.com. Shoot me links to your music. If you have an EPK, that's also a big help. Any kind of information you have on your band besides links to your music or your music videos, bangerangradio@gmail.com, and I will do the best I can to get you on the show. As long as I dig your music, I will try to arrange something with you, and I try to book shows as far in advance as possible. So bangerangradio@gmail.com. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this week, and we'll be back next Tuesday with another episode. Have a great week.
Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza. Hey, hello, it's nice to meet ya. Hey, come in and have a slice of pizza.